All right, Dalton, number 7 on our top 10 edge defenders in college football list is Princely Umanmielen, who's transferring from Florida over to Ole Miss. One of the many star transfers Ole Miss brought in this offseason, Dalton. And honestly, man, this guy is one of the best edge defenders in the country and could be a first-round pick for how good he was as a pass rusher down in Gainesville.
Yeah, certainly one of the best pass rushers in the SEC for a team that badly, badly needed it. But he's a long, lengthy outside linebacker who can win with stride length and win with arm length, man. I think those are the things that stick out to me. He's not the best athlete in the world, 74.3 PFF gas score last year, but still a good one. But that's what you have, is you have a guy who just wins with leverage, wins with extension when he's rushing the passer. An 89.4 pass rush grade last year, 45 pressures, was 4th best in the SEC, a 21 pass rush win rate. That's just really, really good. And he's so consistent too, right? 91.2 pass rush grade across the last 3 years at Florida. That's like a top 25 mark in the country and in the same neighborhood as guys like Kayvon Thibodeau or Jared Verse. Like, as a pass rusher, there is no denying that he's like elite and consistent. Sometimes game to game, like there's games where he's more dominant than others, but he shows up in some sense in the pass rush game every week. He's just a classic long-armed outside linebacker who I think is going to fit Ole Miss's defense now with the way they've changed it. Because for a while they were kind of running it like a little bit like Iowa State, where there's like up front there's a 0 tech and 2 5 techs. And last year they went to more of a 4-man front with the 2 edge guys standing up. It's going to be a better fit. Like, there's clearly Lane Kiffin, I really like this a lot, knew that he needed to make some sort of change on his defense, right? That's the problem, because I could argue he's the best play caller in the country. They're going to have an elite offense. They're loaded offensively. You've got Jackson Dart and Trey Harris and everything going on there. But they need to make stops, man. They just cannot win games one way. And I think Umanmielen is the thing they needed the most, right? They really struggled to rush the passer last year. He's an elite SEC pass rusher, and the way they run their defense, it's a really, really good fit. He would have been a second-round pick last year, and if he has a huge year at Ole Miss, he has first-round potential.
Absolutely. They might have 2 first-round D linemen they got in the transfer portal, man. Him and Walter Nolan, the D tackle from Texas A&M. They had so much other talent at linebacker and in the secondary as well. I mean, Ole Miss's defense, I think, honestly, man, it went from like a horrible defense with Lane Kiffin under there. I think it's a really good defense now. I mean, look at that depth chart that we're doing a preview for every team coming up pretty soon. By the way, subscribe to the channel because we're doing that for every team. Dawn, the more I looked at their defense, man, I'm like, dude, not only is this going to be like a serviceable defense, it's going to be a damn good one, I think, as well. And I think Princely Umanmielen is a big reason for that. He was 4th among Power 5 edges last year with over a 22% pass rush win rate. Also, we mentioned how good he is as a pass rusher. Over the last 2 years, he has 42 run defense stops, which are tied for 2nd among Power 5 edge defenders. So he makes plays, man, in the run game as well. I think he's got an excellent understanding of when to use counter moves. Like, sometimes, even when his first move doesn't work against an offensive tackle, he has an amazing job of getting to his counter move and getting past a tackle that way. And he has a really good bend as well, I thought, too, at 6'5", 254 pounds. So as a pass rusher, man, he's so advanced already. He's not a freak athlete like a James Pierce Jr. or an Abdul Carter like we talked about earlier, but in terms of how advanced he is as a pass rusher, he's one of the best in the country, and I think he's got a really, really developed bag of moves in his arsenal already. What are the negatives, though, Dawn, from Princely Umanmielen right now?
Yeah, I think for a stand-up guy, he's not as explosive as some of the other guys we have in the country, right? When you talk about James Pierce Jr. and Abdul Carter and guys like that, but he does win with his arm length and his footwork. Like, I think the footwork even reminds me a little bit of when I was watching Austin Booker during the draft process, who got drafted by the Bears, where it's kind of like he can make adjustments and he's got a really long stride where he can adjust to it. I think for me, especially in the run game, he makes stops. He's a playmaker. In space, his length, it's hard. He's not the fastest guy like those guys, but it's hard to get around him because of his length and because he's more of a long strider than a guy with a quick turnover in his feet. I just think sometimes he's not the strongest guy at the point of attack, right? If you're running right downhill at him, like, he wants to win more with like length and beat you in space, right? He's not the strongest dude in the world. Look, everybody's got some sort of flaw, and when you're long and lanky like that, that's going to be a thing. And again, we stress through this edge list enough where it's like the pass rush is the more important of the two things. So if he's elite with that, it's not as big a problem. But that would be the thing for me, is he's not he's not wicked fast and he's not wicked strong, right? So that's where you go, okay, what's the ceiling here between he's going to be really good or he's going to be elite? I think in run defense, you can tell he's not the strongest guy in the world. And I think you can just tell sometimes with like chase down stuff where when you watch certain freaks, or I think about like watching Dallas Turner last year run a 4.4, right? Umanmielen's not going to be the freakiest combine guy, but his pass rush moves and his footwork and his fundamentals there is what's going to get him into the NFL.
I would agree with that, man. I think his strength is obviously he's a longer player. He's around 255 right now, so the strength is definitely a question mark for him right now. I think that shows up in his tackling too. He has a 19% missed tackle rate over the last 2 years. It's in the 13th percentile for FBS edge defenders. So really good pass rusher. He's got an advanced bag of moves already. He makes, like I said, he makes plays in the run game. But in terms of holding up at the point of attack and setting the edge, there's certainly a lot you can get better at, and I think a lot of it's due to his strength. So he makes plays in the backfield, which is a really valuable thing as a pass rusher, obviously, and then as a run defender as well. But in terms of setting the edge in the run game, I think he can get better in that aspect. But still, good enough to be a top 10 edge defender in the country and good enough to be a potential first-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. And one of the biggest prizes in the transfer portal, Princely Umanmielen, going from Florida to Ole Miss, staying in the SEC.